Good morning and welcome to Summer Cooking and Grilling. Today's webinar comes to you from the Wisconsin Council of the Blind and Visually Impaired. Our mission is to promote the dignity and empowerment of the people of Wisconsin who are blind and visually impaired through legislative advocacy, vision services, and education. We were founded in 1952 and are governed by people who are blind or visually impaired. Today's speakers are Jim Denham from Fitchburg, Tim Davis from Stoughton, and Janelle Grosskreutz from Chautauqua. All three of them are avid grillers and are here today to share their experiences with grilling and to answer any questions that you may have about what's keeping you from grilling. And so what I'm going to do is just turn it over to each of them just to say hi so you can hear their voice and they can say a few words about themselves. Okay, Jim, I'll let you go ahead and get started.
Good morning and welcome all of you. Thank you for taking the time this morning to join us for this really fun webinar. I am Jim Denham. I do live in Fitchburg, and I also serve as the Access Technology Specialist with the Wisconsin Council of Blind and Visually Impaired.
Okay, Tim.
Hi, my name is Tim Davis. I am from Stoughton, which is south of Madison. I worked for the council for a number of years, and now I work in the Randall-Shepard program, servicing vending machines.
Okay, and Janelle.
Hi, this is Janelle Grosskreutz from Chautauqua, Wisconsin. For those of you who don't know where that is, it's about an hour directly north of Eau Claire. I'm a former special education teacher.
All right. Oh, I forgot to mention that Brent Prezentka is with us today also, and he's one of my colleagues, and he is sort of running in the background, keeping track of the chat room if anything comes up or if anybody raises their hand with a question, and also helping as a timekeeper. We've divided the webinar today into 4 sections, and so the first one is to talk about types of grills. The second one is to talk about safety, since that's where the questions often are. The third section today is on tools and techniques, and then the last section is to say a few words about some pretty basic grilling suggestions, recipes that will guarantee success when you go out and try to do some grilling. So we're going to go ahead and get started with type of grill that people use. There's 3 main types. There's gas, propane, charcoal, and electric. So I'll let our 3 speakers tell us about their grills and their choices in grill and why.
So this is Jim, and I'll start off. I use a gas propane grill. It is a 3-burner grill. The reason I really like gas is it's very easy to regulate the temperature. So with other grills, you get really difficult to control if you want really high heat or really low heat. So with the gas grill, I can really easily control if I want high heat on the left side and low heat on the right side. For example, I'm cooking something on direct heat or indirect heat, I can control that. So it's very easy to control. It's very easy to start and to stop. So I just turn the gas on and light the burners, which is a matter of turning a knob and pushing a button. So it's very easy to control. I don't have to worry about, charcoal or anything like that. I also don't have to run an electrical cable to my grill. So some electrical grills, you have to run an electrical cable. So I can kind of grill wherever I want to. And it's just, I think it provides a good flavor for the food. You're grilling, I think it provides a nice flavor for the food. And it's very easy to use.
Go ahead, Janelle.
All right. I really enjoy using a grill. It's called a Traeger, and it's a pellet grill. And the reason I like that one is because you buy these little pellets. They look about the size of rabbit food, maybe. And you can get them in different flavors. You can get them in cherry and hickory and smoked and barbecue and mesquite. So you can use whatever flavor for whatever meat you're cooking. And how you start the pellet grill is similar to the gas grill. It's got the knobs you can turn, and then it ignites. And it is electric. You have to have the electric on because there's a blower involved with the grill. So you have to, keep in mind if you're going to get a pellet grill, you have to be close to an outlet, obviously. And it's really good for smoking meats, and it's good for burgers. I really like it a lot. It's a little more pricey than the other grills. It's probably, they start about $500 and, go up to $1,500. But I really like it. You don't have to exchange the pellets every single time, maybe once every 8 times that you grill something. And it just gives the meat a real nice smoky flavor.
How much is a bag of pellets,
So a 20-pound bag of pellets is normally between $10 and $15.
Okay. And gas, I go through a tank of gas that lasts me maybe 3, 4, 5 months, depends on how often I grill. And gas, you can either refill, which is about $20, or you can buy a new tank, which is about $40. So if I refill a tank, if I use the same tank, I just refill it. It costs about $20 to refill it. Tim, any comments on that?
Well, Jim did a great job, so I will try to add on what I can, because I also use a gas grill. And what I like about it is everything that Jim mentioned, but also with mine, it has 3 burners, but on the left side, it also has a tray, so I can place all the food. It also has various hooks where I can, put the cleaning brush, the spatula, tongs, whatever tools that you may use, which we'll speak about later. The other thing I like is it does have a safety feature, because I have a Weber, in which you turn the gas propane on. You always do that first and then the burners. And I've done in the past, if you do it the opposite way, where you turn the burners on first, mine automatically shuts off for 15 minutes. So that way it can be reset so that we can turn it on correctly. But my gas grill was probably about $600, the one I received. It's not more of an advanced model with some more bells and whistles, but they usually range anywhere from $300 and up if you wanted to start with a gas grill.
Okay. And turning on and off gas grills, is that easy, the tanks?
It is. For the gas grill, I'm pretty much just lefty, loosey, righty, tighty. So you just have, you turn it to the left all the way to turn on. And then when you are completed, you turn all the burners off and then turn it back to the right. And I always make sure the burners and gas tank are, completely off, so there is no gas leak or anything like that, which I've never had. So, that is pretty easy to use in that direction. Thanks for reminding me, Gene.
Okay. And Janelle, what about yours, just to start it?
Yep, it's just the same as a gas grill. You just turn the knob, and I have bump dots on there, so I know what temperature I'm turning it on to. I can feel the bump dots, and yeah, it's really easy. And again, just switch the knob back off when you're done.
Okay, thanks. We don't have any charcoal grillers with us on the panel this morning. So I did call somebody up in Wausau who is a charcoal griller, and she uses a chimney to start her charcoal grill. And so a chimney is stovepipe with a handle on it that you put the charcoal in the top. And then on the bottom, there's an open area where you tightly wad newspaper and put that in there, and then you light the newspaper that you can light with a match, or you can light it with one of those like a Bic lighter that has a long end on it so that there's not an open flame. And then you let that sit there while the charcoal gets ready. And then when it's ready, then you can just dump it into the grill as you need it or as needed. Okay? And she said the hardest part about a charcoal grill is that it's hot, and that's all she knows about it. So it's really hard to modulate the temperature on a charcoal grill. Any comments, Brent, that we're getting?
Yeah, we had one here from Dave Ballman, and he said that he uses an electrical lighter that works well. It's a device that you put under the coal and you plug it in. So safer to use.
Okay. Sounds good. Then we'll go ahead and move on to the next section, which is about safety and what you need to do to make your grilling as safe as possible when you can't always see what's going on. Okay, so we'll start and let Tim start this time.
Thank you, Gene. So as I mentioned, I use a gas grill. So I make sure that it's not near the house, a tree, in the yard, anything like that where it can catch something on fire. Also, I keep mine on the patio, which is cement, so that way it is level, so it doesn't tip, or it isn't level where something can catch on fire. Also, the way that you start to grill, we mentioned earlier, is I always turn, the valve to the left, and then on mine, you turn on the initial burner after you ignite it, and after that goes, then you do each one subsequently to make them all work. After it is heated, I do not use gloves, so the hood where the handle is does not, get very heated, so it's easy to do that. But if I do clean with the brush and things, I do use a glove to clean the grill, because unfortunately, if it's 300 or 400 degrees, it's not, you don't want to burn yourself. I guess other safety features that I do is I always make sure that it is clean, because there is trays underneath that will collect the grease and any remnants of your grilling. And I usually change that about every month, so that way none of the debris, falls underneath where it's, more difficult to clean. So, the base thing is make sure that, it is clean, that you have an organized area. I always make sure I have all the, my tools that I use to grill with, all the food and that nearby, because organization is the key, because I am completely blind. So that way I'm not looking for, all the devices and thing when it's really hot and accidentally burn myself, or, waste time trying to find items, or, knocking them on the ground or whatever, which I have done. But you learn as you go, and the most fun is just, enjoying the experience and learning that way.
And remembering the 5-second rule, if it hits the ground. If you can find it and get it back on the grill, who's going to know? Okay, so Janelle, just around safety, food safety or grilling safety.
Yeah, and I agree with everything Tim said. And I think you have to remember too, obviously, if you're having chicken or turkey or any kind of meat, really, you don't want to leave it sitting outside while your grill is warming up or while you're getting other stuff ready. Keep it in the fridge till the last second when you put it on the grill. And just, like Tim said, just make sure you're not on your wood deck or your any loose leaves or grass or anything like that could possibly start a fire.
Yeah, this is Jim, and I would add, you want to make sure you're away from your building a substantial amount. If you're in a house, or if you're in an apartment complex or a condo association, there's probably a certain distance you need to be specified. You need to be away from your building before you start a charcoal or gas grill, or probably electric grill as well. So I think ours is, like here in Fitchburg, it's 10 feet. You have to be at least 10 feet away from the building. So that might limit where you can grill and where you can't grill.
Okay. And I think one of the tips that Jim brings up in a short video that we're going to see in a minute, but I think it's a good one to repeat, is if you bring your meat out in a dish or on a plate, is not to use that same plate after you cook it. So that if you have raw meat on something and you take the meat off of that or out of it, that dish is done. So then you need a clean one to collect any cooked food. Okay.
Makes a little more dishes, but it's worth not getting sick.
That's right. We're transferring a little salmonella from one to another.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then a big question that always comes up is, how do you know when the food is done if you can't see it? And I'm going to guess that some of us who see still don't know when the food's done without using another technique. But that is always a difficult one. So Janelle, what do you do to know when your stuff is done?
Well, I use my fingers. I can, and I said, I like my meat really well done. And so I can kind of feel on the outside if it's done. But then, you know, quite honestly, I'm not usually grilling just for myself. I'm grilling for my family. So somebody there is sighted and I have them, especially chicken or turkey, just have them cut into it and double check that it is done, because you don't want to bite into a half raw piece of chicken. So I, you know, just use my fingers. And then I also do use a talking meat thermometer, which I just used on Sunday. I made a turkey breast on the grill and used the talking meat thermometer, which works super. It's great. But
Okay.
you know, you gotta just ask for somebody sighted sometimes just to double check, just to make sure. So
Yeah. And I think the thing to just sort of reiterate there is when you're touching your food, you are not wearing a glove, right?
I am not. Nope. Usually I'll have the tongs, or I like tongs better than spatula. I'll have that in my right hand, and then I'll follow the spatula or tongs down to the piece of meat with my finger. I don't just go feeling across the grill. I start with the utensil and slide down until I find the burger or whatever it is. But yeah, I do not wear gloves.
Okay. And Jim?
So I always say there's three kind of methods, and whatever depends on what I'm cooking. The three T's are time, temperature, and touch. So you can use one of those three T's or a couple of those three T's depending on what you're touching. So if you're cooking something and you kind of know the thickness of it and you cooked it maybe before, you can a lot of times just do it based on time. You can say, okay, you know, this burger, I'm going to cook it 7 minutes on one side and 7 minutes on the other side. It's going to be pretty much medium, or 8 minutes on one side, 8 minutes on the other side, it's going to be medium well. That's kind of the time method. You're just kind of timing yourself and you're checking how long things cook. It's important to have a good you know, timing device, an iPhone or an Apple Watch or some sort of timer that kind of tells you the time. And then touch, like what Janelle was talking, you can kind of touch the meat. You can kind of touch and kind of feel the firmness. So what I usually do is touch the meat first with my spatula, and then I'll reach out and touch with my hand. You can kind of tell, you know, how done it is based on by just touching it. So, you know, touching, if it's really, really firm, it means it's a little more done. If it's still, you know, you push it and it's kind of rubbery, it kind of means that, hey, it still has some ways to go. So that's kind of something you haven't learned to do. I like to use the ear as kind of a good analogy, because the lower part of your, if you touch your ear, the lower part of your ear is pretty fleshy. And that kind of is kind of what something would feel like if it's kind of like rare or medium rare. And then if you move up your ear a little bit, it's still a little fleshy, but it's a little more solid. And that's kind of like a medium to medium well. And then the top part of your ear is pretty solid, that cartilage in the top part of your ear. And that's kind of more medium well to well done. So kind of comparison there of what things kind of feel like as they cook.
Okay. And Tim?
I do mine a little bit differently. Is I do mine by time. So I always take my iPhone out, and I've done my grilling long enough that I know if it's 8 minutes on each side or 10, depending what my family likes, if they want well done, medium, or rare. And my grill, since I have 3 burners, I also set the burners differently depending how they would like it cooked. So for example, on the left, I'll put that burn a little bit higher for anybody who wants anything well done, and then, you know, lower for the medium, and then minimal for rare. And then I do use a spatula and do the touch also without the glove. But if it is chicken or, you know, pork chops or anything like that, I am not shy, because I want everybody healthy. So I do have my wife or children, you know, also check it at the end to make sure that it is cooked through. But that's pretty much it. So I usually have, I've done it enough that each burner I know what temperature to keep it at, because usually I keep it at, you know, low to medium, because I like to cook it a little bit longer. I know mine has a temperature gauge on the hood, but since it's, you know, visual only, I don't use that. So I just do it a little bit different way.
Okay. All righty. And we have a short video that Jim did just to demonstrate some of this. for those of you who can see the video. And he also does a good job of explaining the video for those of you who cannot actually see what's going on. So here's the first video.
Hi, my name is Jim Denham, and I'm going to be demonstrating some grilling techniques. So I have here a 3-burner Weber gas propane grill. And before I even start grilling, I'm going to open up the grill and I'm going to check my grilling area. So I'm going to just move my hand around here, make sure the grilling area is clean. And that does 2 things. First of all, it allows me to make sure there's nothing on the grill that I might melt when I turn it on. And it also kind of gives me an idea of the space that I've got, because once I turn the grill on, this space is going to be hot. So by touching this ahead of time, I kind of have a good idea of the dimensions of the cooking area and what I'm going to be grilling, where I'm going to be grilling. So I kind of can feel here the space that I know, size, the length, and so I can kind of picture that in my head when I'm grilling. The other thing that I do before I start grilling is I check to make sure all my tools are in place, because while you're cooking, you want to make sure you have your tools easy access. So I've got my spatula that's hanging over here, and I've got my tongs that are hanging over here. So I want to make sure those things are in place, because when I need them when I'm cooking, I don't want to be looking around for them. So I keep them in an easy location and in a known location. Okay, so the first step in the process is to light the grill. So the first thing I'm going to do is open the lid, make sure the lid is open, because whenever I light the grill, I want to make sure the lid is open, and that way I can kind of hear to make sure the burners are lit and are lit properly. So the grill is open. Next, we're going to go down here to the gas, and we're going to turn on the gas tank. And it's good to do this first thing. So the gas tank is on, turning that, so the gas is on. And next we've got our burners here. So we've got 3 burners. I'm going to be cooking burgers today, and burgers don't take up a whole lot of space on the grill. So I really don't need all 3 burners lit. So I know from past experience that this left burner lights the left part of the grill here. This burner lights the center part of the grill, and the burner over here lights the right part of the grill. So I really don't need all that grilling area just to cook a couple burgers. So I'm just going to light the first 2 burners. This grill has a nice feature in that I can feel the status of each burner. There's a little knob at the top here, so I can tell at 12 o'clock it's on, at 9 o'clock it's on high, 6 o'clock it's on medium, 3 o'clock it's on low. So that's a really important feature that I can easily tell the status of each burner. So I'm going to turn the first burner to the 9 o'clock or the preheat position, and then I'm going to push the button here to light it. And I get an audible sound, tells me that that burner is lit. I'm going to do the same thing with the second burner. I'm going to turn it to the 9 o'clock position, and I'm going to push the button, and I can hear that both burners are now lit. So now that grill is heating. So I can hear this is heating. So now we're going to close the lid, and we're going to wait about 20 minutes to get that grill good and hot, because we always want to cook with a good hot grill. So now that the grill is on, we're going to check the time and wait about 20 minutes.
Okay, so that's just a little demo of some of that safety and getting yourself started on the grill. Okay, any questions on that section?
We did have a hand raise. The telephone number 1766. Again, if you wanted to unmute yourself and go ahead with your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I just wanted to, for a minute, to backtrack. I am a charcoal griller, and I appreciate what's being said. And I use the toothpick method to backtrack when I'm checking my meat as I go down. I use gloves, and I can check the meat by the texture, whether it's rubbery or partly rubbery or fully cooked, with the toothpick.
Okay. So basically the same as what Jim was saying, except that you're using a toothpick to kind of get a sense of how resistant
Correct.
the meat is?
Correct. And then earlier it was said that the 3 T's. Actually, I use the 4 T's. At the point of where I'm grilling on a charcoal grill, I use the toothpick method, as I mentioned, but I use the taste method at the end, time, touch, and I forget the other one mentioned. But I use the taste at the end. I take it off the grill, I cut a piece off, and I taste it, and that usually becomes my piece where I'm testing the amount of where the meat is cooked. Pretty much because I've grilled since I was a little boy, since the age of 4, as a blind individual. I like the charcoal grill because things cook faster, and I'm kind of remembering like I'm broiling in an oven, so I'm constantly turning the meat almost every minute.
Okay, thank you.
And we have another hand raised, Dave Ballman.
Yeah, hi. I was wondering, Janelle, can you talk a little bit more about that talking thermometer and how that works and stuff?
Mm-hmm. I got it from Maxi Aids, and it's battery operated, and you just stick it in the meat, about halfway down, and then press this button, and then it tells you what temperature the meat is at. I mean, it works really, really nice. I like it a lot.
So it's just one piece. It's not like connected to your iPhone or anything?
Or... Nope. I'm not high tech like Jim, but no, it's just, and I think it was $12 or something. I mean, it was very reasonable.
Can you leave it in the meat while it's cooking?
No,
or do you have to take it in and out?
Yeah, no, you have to take it in and out because the top part of mine anyway is kind of plastic. Okay. So you do have to take it in and out. Yes. I don't know if there's an updated version now that you could leave in there, but mine, yes, you do have to take in and out.
And what type of batteries does that take, Janelle?
Oh gosh, it's like, I think it's 1 AAA.
Okay, so it's a normal battery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It seems pretty reliable.
Yeah, it's because I've tested it. I've had my husband, get the other meat thermometer, and we've tested it in water, and we've tested it in turkey and hamburger. I mean, everything, and it's pretty darn accurate to the regular meat thermometer.
Janelle.
Yes.
It's Ray. One more thing. When one of the things I do with the charcoal grills, I do use the thermometer too. If I'm cooking for an amount of individuals, I tend to use the thermometer based on the test and checking in place of the taste.
Oh, well, that's probably good for your people that you're serving, that you don't taste all their burgers.
Correct. No, I don't do that because
I'm just kidding.
I cook for a lot of individuals regularly, and I have a tendency to just love grilling, as I am already a chef, primarily by virtue of trade.
Oh, well, good for you.
All righty, and actually talking about thermometers can move us into the next section, which is to talk about some of the tools and techniques that people use. And so, Jim, I think you're going to tell us a little bit about a higher tech thermometer, the iGrill.
Yeah. So this is a tool called the iGrill. It's actually made by Weber. It used to be an independent company, but I think it's now owned by Weber. So this is a small probe I'm holding up in front of the camera here. It's basically what I like to call a thermometer on a string. So it's a probe which kind of feels like a thermometer, and it's probably about 4 or 5 inches long, and then it's connected to a braided cable, and the cable is about 3 feet long, and the other end is just a simple little plug here, and this connects to a device that is actually attached to my grill that has a little battery pack on it. And so what I can do with this is I can put this probe in meat. So if I'm cooking chicken, or if I'm cooking a roast or something like that, I can put it in the meat and then plug this other end into the device on my grill. And then I use an app on my phone, which is very accessible with VoiceOver. It works really well. And that app allows me to basically, it says, what food are you cooking? Are you cooking beef? Are you cooking chicken? Are you cooking pork? Are you cooking vegetables? What it is that you're cooking. And then it knows the appropriate temperatures each one of those should be. So it knows, for example, that chicken should be at least 165. And then it will, if for some foods, it will ask you, do you want this, how kind of done do you want it? Do you want it medium rare? Do you want it medium? Do you want it medium well? And you can specify that. And then it monitors the temperature as it's cooking and will alert you when it's 10 degrees below the appropriate temperature, when it's 5 degrees below, and then it gives you a pretty good indication when it's actually at the temperature. So if I'm cooking a chicken breast, for example, I can put it in and I can monitor the chicken. I can monitor it with my iPhone. It's a really accessible app. And it will tell me, hey, that this food is at 105, this food's at 110. You can just keep watching it. And it's Bluetooth, so I can do it from in the house. I can be sitting in my house looking and saying, okay, the chicken's at 120 degrees, it's still got a little ways to go. Of course, I can't flip it. I still have to come out to the grill to flip it. It won't let me flip it remotely. But again, I can monitor the temperature of the food. And then when it hits a certain temperature, it's done. So it's really kind of a neat way of checking the status of your food. It works better for some foods than others. It works really nice for chicken. It works nice for larger pieces of meat. I wouldn't use it on something smaller like a burger or something like that, but it works really nicely on a larger piece of meat.
Okay.
I was going to ask a quick question, Jim. Does that stay in the whole time while you're grilling, or is it like, like Janelle's where you test it periodically?
You can do it either way. I tend to leave it in the whole time. Because and then I can monitor as I'm cooking. Or the other thing I'll do is I'll cook something on one side and then I'll flip it and then I'll put it in, because trying to flip it, a piece of meat with a cord attached to it, can be a little bit tricky. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll flip the meat and then put the probe in and then run the cord. The other thing you have to be a little bit cautious of is when you are pulling the probe out, that probe gets really hot, and the end of the probe is really hot. So you have to kind of use either gloves or a piece of paper towel or something to pull that probe. You can't reach in and grab that probe with your hand because it's very hot. It's been sitting on a hot grill. But it's a nice way of monitoring the temperature.
Jim, one question I just thought of.
Yeah.
So actually, too, where do you get those probes and how much do they cost?
So the Weber iGrill is available. I think you can buy it at lots of different places. I think you can get it on Amazon and lots of different things. And I think the whole kit costs, I think, around $100. Okay.
And what is the app called then?
The app is just called Weber iGrill.
Weber iGrill. iGrill. Okay.
Yep. And it's a very accessible voiceover, or it's really easy to use. And like I say, you basically go in. You can do a bunch of different things with it. I use it for temperature. You can use it to just time your food as well. You can also set it up so that you can check the actual temperature of your grill instead of the temperature of food. I'm not quite sure how that works exactly, but there's different things. The other nice thing it does is it actually connects to the tank of your grill and alerts you when the propane is running low.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So one of the nice things with propane, obviously, propane only lasts so long. Eventually, you've got to change the tank every 3, 4, 5 months. And so when I was cooking the other day, it came up and says, hey, your propane's down 25%. So, it's kind of a good indication, because propane always dies at the most inopportune time.
I was just going to say, our propane, when we had a gas grill, I guarantee you it always ran out when people are here waiting to eat.
I was cooking steaks for my wife on our anniversary a couple of years ago. And right in the middle of cooking the steaks, the propane died. So I said, well, okay, time to put the steaks on the oven. It's, got to move the stuff inside. So yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So I've learned from that is now I own 2 tanks. This is the backup. So that way you look like you're prepared.
Yep. Absolutely. Be prepared. The Boy Scout motto.
All righty. So to bring in a couple other tools, Tim, you use a grill pan.
I do, which I have right here. And this is completely metal. It's probably about 8 inches by 8 inches. My daughter is vegetarian, so we use this a lot to grill the vegetables in. It is, like I mentioned, totally metal. It has 2 on each side. It has like a curved ledge that you can hold, this while you're grilling. Make sure you have gloves because, like I said, it's metal and it will be 300 to 400 degrees. It also has holes in the bottom. So that way, if it has any juices or anything, it just runs out and doesn't sit in the bottom. So we use this. I think it's very nice. We've had this quite a few years, and it's, we never had to replace it. So it is something very durable. Where do we get it? Well, my wife purchased that, and I have no idea, but I figure you can find them in, any hardware stores or anything online of various sizes that you may want to use yourself.
Okay. And so
sorry.
Go ahead,
I
Janelle.
have a question for Tim. So when you do the vegetables,
Yes.
what do you put on there for? I mean, do you just use vegetable oil or?
Right, we put on you put on the oil or whatever sauce that you want to have on
Okay.
top of it. You just put it in and grill it. Sometimes you can use aluminum foil, but usually we just put it right in the container.
Okay, so just whatever spice or liquid you
Whatever
want.
you like.
Okay, all right, great.
It looks like it might have a coating on it that makes it more non-stick.
Yes, the bottom I don't know if it's recoated. It feels more just the holes, but it does have some type of covering over it. Correct.
Okay. And so when you're grabbing onto that pan, you do wear gloves.
Absolutely.
And so gloves have been mentioned a couple of times, not so much when you're flipping your food, but when you're doing other things like working with probes or handling some of the equipment. And so what kind of gloves are you guys using?
I'll go first. We really have I call them grilling gloves or oven gloves. They aren't like the oven mitts or anything like that. They are gloves that are fairly heavy. That does probably cover up to about 400 or 500 in heat. So that way it protects your hands. No, you don't want to hold this for 5 minutes to test that theory because the heat will come through. But it is very good, just to maneuver if you have, if you use, I know we're going into tools, but if you use metal spatulas and things or, any type of metal or project, it helps keep that heat down. And that's what we've been using. And it is washable. We've probably had ours 10 years, so they last a long time.
Okay. And Janelle or Jim, any other kind of glove?
I actually use the Gorilla gloves. I got them from Amazon, like the Gorilla Grip, the Gorilla Glue. I'm sure you all have heard of. And they have Gorilla Grill. I can't even say it. Gorilla grilling gloves that I use. That they work fantastic. Yeah, I love them. And they're like $10.
Okay. All righty. Then what about some of your favorite tools that you all use?
So my favorite tool that I use on a regular basis and I love and I couldn't grow without it is my long-handled spatula. I've got a spatula, which I think is actually shown in the video. It's got a handle that's probably about, I don't know, a foot long, or it's a good long handle. And it's got a big G carved into it for Green Bay Packers. Go Pack.
Right.
And but it's really helpful for when I'm checking where things are at on the grill. If I don't want to touch, reach out and touch, because I'm very tactile. I like to touch things and use things, but obviously you don't want to touch the grill grates when they're hot. But if I put something on the grill and I want to know where it's at, I'll reach out with that spatula and I'll touch it with the spatula to see where it's at before I reach out and touch it with my hand. So I kind of know exactly where it's at. So it's really helpful. It's a big spatula too. So if I need to get under, a big piece of meat, a pork chop or something like that, it's really good for getting under that. It's probably, I don't know, 3-4 inches wide. And so it's really good kind of getting under big pieces of meat to easily flip them. And so it's a really valuable tool that I love.
Okay. And who are the tong people? Was it Tim or Janelle who were the tongs?
That was Janelle.
Okay.
See, unlike Jim, I prefer the tongs. I just feel like I have more control over that. I can grab the burger and flip it, or the piece of chicken or the chicken breast. I like that. And then as far as the other tools, which I don't know, maybe we'll talk about later, Jean, I use the Colorino, believe it or not, to make stuff. I use the timer. I use the meat thermometer. And you have to use your sense of smell and your hearing, because you can smell when stuff is burning or not getting done enough, and you can hear it. So that's really 2 key tools that I use as well.
All righty. Okay.
I would totally agree with that.
Right. I guess also Janelle mentioned is that, sometimes you have to go in and out, maybe to exchange dishes or whatever, but you do want to stay by the grill, because sometimes if it's charcoal or electric, or maybe not with electric, but with gas, sometimes the flames will get a little bit higher if you have more of a fatty product. So you want to make sure you regulate that and you are near that in case you do have to move the your food product more quickly so it doesn't burn. As far as myself for the tools, I'm a Tom person in most things like Janelle, but I use the double spatula, which, for the burgers and things, that way I can grab it and flip it easier so I don't toss it, where it shouldn't be. And I did purchase that as a plug, I did purchase that at the council store, and that's really nice to use. And I usually use metal because if you do use plastic, it can melt.
Okay. Any
We had a
questions?
couple. Yeah, we had a couple here, Gene, in the chat. Peter asked if the temperature gauge that Jim uses on his phone would also work with an Android phone.
I believe so. Yes, I believe they do have an Android app for the Weber Grill. Yes.
And Kristen asked if the Sharper Vision store still carries the oven mitts that go up to the elbow. And we do. We also carry the oven gloves and the talking temperature thermometer as well. We also had a hand raised from Renee.
Had a couple of comments and a question, or I guess a couple of comments. I wanted to say that you can also get that Weber iGrill from atguys.com. They're the ones, I don't know if you guys listen to, they do the Blind Bargains podcast and stuff like that. We always, my husband is the griller, but we always have 2 propane tanks. So we always have one full so that when that propane tank runs out in the middle of grilling something, you're not kind of messed up for getting your supper ready. So we always have a...
You're very prepared. You're a very prepared family. It's very good. It's a great idea.
Yeah, it's like, doesn't hurt to have a backup one, because and I really do like that the iGrill thing lets you know the level of your tank. That's pretty cool. So, and I want to say all of you, it's been very interesting, and thank you for all the tips and tricks and advice. So thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other question about tools before we talk about a few recipes?
Yeah, this is Dave Ballman. Is the thermometer that Brent mentioned, is that the one that Janelle was talking about, the ILA one?
It is, and I apologize. I said MaxAids, but yes, it was. I did purchase it through the council.
Okay, perfect.
So yeah, it's the same one. Yep.
Thanks.
We'll talk a little bit about some recipes, and I'll go back to Janelle since she mentioned the Colorino, which you kind of wonder. Most of us don't think of that as a grilling tool. For those of you who don't know, the Colorino is a color identifier. So Janelle, tell us how you use that Colorino.
Oh, right. I love the Colorino. That, other than my iPhone, that's probably my second favorite tool for anything. So when I make shish kebabs, for example, I like to use red pepper, green pepper, yellow pepper, purple peppers, whatever colors I can get. And so to identify the colors, I use the Colorino, and then I dice each pepper up and put each one in a separate bowl, and then I arrange them alphabetically on the counter so I know which one is where. And then I use the Seeing AI to find the salad dressing in the fridge, because you have to put French dressing over the shish kebabs. And so I use the Seeing AI also to find, because a can of whole potatoes you put on these skewers, and yeah, it works fantastic. So I use that Colorino all the time. And then as far as the skewers go, I think Jim asked me yesterday, how do you flip the skewers with the meat not flipping and just the skewer flipping? The secret to that is you have to have a flat skewer, because then the stuff on it doesn't have a choice to spin. It has to spin. So on our kebabs, I use either steak, chicken, shrimp, elk, moose. We've done just about everything. And then pineapple and cherry tomatoes and mushrooms. And then you put a layer of French dressing over it. and it works fantastic. Yeah, I love it. That's probably my favorite thing that I make.
All right. I think before we talk about a few other recipes, I forgot that we had another short video clip to show you of Jim finishing up those burgers. So let me bring that up.
It's been about 20 minutes. Our grill is good and hot, and we know that based on just timing because we started the grill about 20 minutes ago, and we know it takes about 20 minutes for this particular grill to get hot. So I'm going to open up the grill and be very cautious because it's going to be hot, a lot of heat coming off there. So of course it's very hot. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn down my burners because I don't need to cook on high. I don't need to cook my burners at blazing hot. So I'm going to turn them down to medium. And your food may cook a little bit slower that way, but it's easier to manage things on the grill. You don't have quite as much heat coming off the grill when your burners are on medium. So I always cook on medium unless I'm searing something like a piece of meat quickly or something like that. But if I'm just cooking burgers, I'm going to cook them on medium. So I turn my burners down to medium. The grill is good and hot. And the next thing I'm going to do is take my spatula and check the grill surface. So I'm going to take the spatula here. This is where it's very important, what we talked about earlier, the surface, because now that surface area is hot, we can't touch it. But I can still touch it with this long spatula. So I can kind of feel the edge, kind of gauge where I'm going to put my burgers and make sure the surface is clean and there's nothing on this surface. So I'm now just going to feel for the grill edge, make sure nothing's on there. And so I know that my grill surface is clean. So first thing I'm going to do is take a burger here, and these are frozen burgers. We cook our burgers from frozen, and I can feel it's a good spot to put them here. So I'm going to put it here, right in front of the front of the left-hand burner, because I know that kind of spot is a good, nice hot spot, and that left burner is on. And now I'm going to feel where that burger's at, and I'm going to find the second spot here for my second burger. And I'm going to put that burger on right there. So our burgers are now on. We're going to close the lid, and we're going to cook these using the timing method. So I know that burgers, to get about medium, is about 7 minutes aside. Medium well is about 8 minutes aside. So we're going to cook these burgers to about medium well. So I'm going to check my time on my Apple Watch here. So it's 5:43, so I know in 8 minutes it'll be time to flip the burgers. So according to my trusty dusty Apple Watch here, it's been about 8 minutes, which means it's time to flip the burgers. So one of the things that I've done between putting the burgers on and now is I went inside and got a clean plate because we had raw meat on the other plate, and we're going to be taking the burgers off in a little bit. We're going to put them on a clean plate. So you always want to make sure you're putting your food on a clean plate. You're not putting something on that had raw meat on it. So it's just a very important food precaution to think about. So these have been on for 8 minutes. We're going to go ahead and open up the grill here. And I'm going to find where each one of these at first by using my spatula. So I'm going to find this where it's at, and then I'm going to use the spatula to find it, and I'm going to touch it and flip it. So I'm going to find the first one here, touch it, and I'll use my hand to touch the top of it, and slide underneath it, and flip it. And I'll do the same for the other one, find it, touch it, slide my spatula underneath it. And now they are flipped. I'll verify where they're at with my spatula here, so I know where that one's at. I know where that one's at. And we're good to go. So I can close this now, and we're going to cook these for another 7-8 minutes, and they'll be ready to come off the grill. So it's now been about 8 minutes, and it's time to take these puppies off the grill. So first thing I'm going to do is open up the grill, and I'm going to turn the burners off because they're done cooking. It's time to take the burners off, and if I turn the burners off, I don't have to worry about extra heat coming from the grill. So I'm going to turn off the second burner here. We turn it to its 12 o'clock position. You can kind of hear a little sound that it turned off. Turn the second one off. So we can tell that the burners have gone off. So it's good to know that your grill is no longer lit. So I'm going to take a spatula, and again I'm going to feel where each burger's at. And I'm going to touch where my plate's at, so I can see where my plate is at here. This is my clean plate. And I will touch the burger here, slide underneath, pick up, transfer onto the plate. So that one, pick the plate. So now we have two nicely cooked burgers. Now, the final step, before we're done, is we're going to give the grill a little bit of a clean. So I've got a brush under here. Use this brush, And we're going to scrub the grill a little bit while it's still hot, because that kind of gets the grease off so it doesn't stick to the grate. So we're going to take it and just kind of spin this a little bit. We do this while it's hot. The grease doesn't stick to the grates. Okay, so that's nice and clean. So now the other important thing to do is turn off the gas, because the burners are off. We want to make sure we turn the gas off. So we turn the gas all the way to the right here. Put our brush away. And close up the grill. And let it cool off, and we'll put it away. And now we take the burgers, and it's time to eat.
Another good demonstration, and one thing to kind of point out, I don't know if Jim planned to do this way, but he flipped the burgers and he flipped them away from him so that he's not bringing them toward himself as he flips them over. They're being turned toward the back of the grill.
Another reason that I put the burgers in the front. I should have said that. There's another reason I put the burgers kind of at the front of the grill when I'm cooking them, is because I do want that extra space, and I do want, I know that there's, a column of heat that kind of goes away from me, and I want to keep them on that column of heat. So I put them in the front of the grill, and then when I flip them, I flip them back, so I'm not flipping them off the grill onto the cement or anywhere else.
Like me.
So yeah, so you kind of flip them away from you. So yeah, that is something that I
didn't know it, because I flip mine side to side.
So do I.
Yeah, no, I try and flip mine towards the back of the grill.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, so Tim, favorite recipe or favorite things to cook on the grill that would be easy and successful?
For mine, it's summer season, so I always like brats and burgers. So with the brats, it's pretty simple. I always boil them in beer, inside. Then I bring them out to brown them. And what I do is I make sure that they're facing, what would I say, horizontal, so they're lengthways, so that way it covers the whole brat instead of putting them right the same direction as the grate. And I always poke holes in them because you don't want them to burst. I've had that happen, and it's a little bit more messier. But those are two of my favorite. And I also do chicken. Now I add barbecue sauce while it's on out, with that on both sides. And probably my two favorites. So pretty simple to do, and just add your salt and pepper or any type of seasonings that you like.
Okay. And Jim, your favorites?
Well, I love to do a good steak. I think steaks are fun. The different types of steaks. You get the strip steaks or the fillets. Those are always kind of fun to cook. I enjoy cooking pork chops, things like that. Put some barbecue sauce on a pork chop. That can be really, really good as well. And I'm definitely going to give Janelle's skewers a try. That sounds really, really good as well. So lots of fun things. And the other thing I want to really emphasize about this, as we're talking about this should really be something that's fun, something that you enjoy. I think we're all talking kind of yesterday, and this is something it's a lot of fun, and it's something that you really do to kind of enjoyment. It's not like, oh, this is stressful, I got to do this. The first couple times you're doing it, it might be a little bit, okay, you got to figure it out and you whatever. But for me, cooking on the grill is an enjoyable activity, and something that you get outside and you may have a beverage, and sitting out there in the fresh air and the sunshine, especially this time of year, the smell of the fresh cut grass and all the birds around. And I'm now identifying birds based on birding by ear. And so, but it's really an enjoyable activity. I mean, sometimes what I do is I'll pull a lawn chair out there as well, and I'll flip my whatever I'm cooking, and then I'll go sit in the lawn chair for a little bit and just kind of enjoy the outdoors. So think of this as really an enjoyable activity. It can really be a lot of fun. It's something you really, really enjoyable.
And like Jim says, I mean, you're gonna mess up a time or two.
Yep.
No, trust me, I did. And I'm by no means a professional griller, but it's just fun, and go have a beverage. And sometimes I just take my Victor reader out there and listen to a book while I'm waiting for the timer to go off. It's just, you just gotta have fun.
Yeah, I mean, and have people in your household that are you're not, the first time you do it, you're not cooking for the Queen of England or anything like that. I mean, you're cooking for friends and family that if you make a mistake, a big deal. I mean, I always, so my wife enjoys when I cook. Hey, it's one less thing she has to do. She doesn't have to cook tonight, so I'm cooking dinner tonight. So it's just,
you always have dominoes on speed dial when you screw up.
All righty. Any last questions or comments in the chat room, Brent?
Yeah, Peter had mentioned that he always keeps a pan of ice water nearby for safety. And Eva had mentioned fire extinguishers as well.
Good idea.
Yeah, the ice water could be really handy because occasionally, this is not perfect. I mean, all of us have our 10 fingers. I think we've all talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
But occasionally you might mess up a little bit and touch something a little bit hot and get your end of your finger a little bit burned. It's just, that's a learning experience. And you have to kind of realize that's a learning experience. So,
yeah, that's a good point.
So, if you do have a pan of ice water, dip your finger in, that's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Cold beverages work well for that too. You can grab a cold beverage and that helps with burns as well.
Cold. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
No, I was going to say that's multi-purpose. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
All righty. Any other last minute questions?
Well, you guys made me hungry. It was a good
That's right.
That was our goal.
Good job. One quick thing. I've never heard or seen flat skewers. Are those the metal ones or those?
Yep, they're metal. Yep,
Okay.
they're metal. Yep. And you can get them on Amazon. I think I got mine at Walmart. Yeah, they work so much better than the round ones. For me anyway, because the meat can't, or the whatever's on it can't flip around, it has to turn with the skewer.
Exactly. And I know the ones we have are the same, but they have the handle's like a metal loop.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Gloves, they aren't,
yes, you definitely have to use gloves when you turn it. Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure.
Did you know something you mentioned that it was cutting your vegetables and your meat kind of uniformly, so you kind of it's done at the same time?
Yes, and that took me a while to figure out because, like I said before, I like my meat very well done. So it took a couple times to figure out how to cut the vegetables to a certain size and the meat a certain size, so they're all done at the same time. So that takes a time or two to figure out. But I mean, I've done fruit on the skewers, peaches and pineapple, and you can pretty much do anything on the grill. Which we don't have time to get into, but I make homemade pizza on the grill. So there's just a ton of stuff you can do.
Okay.
Rick had his hand raised.
As for moisture, one of the things that I do when I'm grilling out in the charcoal grill tray, I have a tendency to parboil my chicken so it stays moist when I'm flipping it because of the same temperature throughout the grill on a charcoal. So I parboil about 20 minutes, and then what I like to do with my chicken is I roll it in Miracle Whip, and then I put Parmesan cheese on it with my seasonings, and I grill it for about 10 minutes on each side, and it comes out really delicious, almost like a crisp, and it's moist. And that's the one thing that I'm very concerned about when I'm cooking for everybody. I want to make sure the food is well done, but at the same time moist and tender and flavorful to the palate.
I've never heard of that before.
No. The other thing is I cook all my meat frozen if I can help it. If I'm doing brats or anything, or even burgers, I'll prepare them the day before and I throw them in the freezer, freeze them, and then the moisture of the freezing actually keeps them moist too.
So you put the chicken right from the freezer into the boiling water? No. You can take fresh or frozen, boil it for about 20 minutes, and then you take it out, cool it down for a second, and do whatever you want to do with your seasonings and spices, and you throw it on the grill. It prevents the meat from drying a lot more. Okay.
It's something that I've learned through the years, but something they taught me in culinary school. If you want to make your food more meltable, as they call it, in your mouth, like it's butter in your mouth, you cook it frozen or you parboil it.
Yeah, I cook my burgers from frozen as well, and that also has another advantage. It kind of helps them stay more together when you're cooking them. Sometimes you get burgers and they kind of fall apart as you're flipping them and doing different stuff. So if you we cook our burgers from frozen, and they tend to stick together more. You just add another 30 seconds or a minute on for each side to kind of get them But yeah, you
Yep.
throw them right on the grill frozen.
Mine would be about 3 minutes on each side. More.
Our time is up for today, and my thanks to Jim, Tim, and Janelle for sharing their expertise and experiences with their grilling. Their contact information is at the top of the chat room, but I will also get that to you in an email. Thanks to all of you for participating. The webinar will be archived, and I will send a link out probably to get it around the middle to the end of next week. If you have any questions, feel free to visit us at WC Blind or reach out to staff by calling 800-783-5213. If you'd like to follow the council, we are at wcblind.org. Our next event will be a low vision fair running over several weeks in July and August. So everyone, enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jean. Good job.
It was really interesting. Thanks,
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.